G'day, welcome back to my string challenge as we continue to connect everywhere in the world together. And we have a whole bunch of Chinese cities to still get to our connection. So let's just wait for this to figure itself out. Alrighty. So first up, Japan will loop in here somewhere. But we will go for Cambodia as our first bring in today, and then we'll probably bring in Japan a little bit later. So, someone commented that Ulaanbaatar was not fully upgraded. It is upgraded. Its only problem is that it's just got, it's just been sitting there upgraded for so long that it's just got 10,000 people sitting there with nowhere to go. I think Beijing actually genuinely needs an update. And I mean, these guys are all going to struggle still because they're not connected back to the network yet. So as we continue to work our way down, you'd have that guy connected. This Lenzo. So how do you pronounce Zoe? It's Joe. Lenjo is going to be our real outlier here. So Beijing's ending up there. I've actually gone the wrong way there. I think I was looking at the wrong side of this connection. So QI is pronounced... no, it's X that I'm thinking of. I have a Q reference point. Not common to me. I can't think of how you pronounce a Q. Chinese city names. But let's bounce Beijing down here. And then across. The problem is that Lenzhou is going to have two cities connecting to it. So assumably Xi'an is going to be one of them. Just here. See, that's at 100,000 more. So I'd probably say Chengdu is going to be the other one. That means that one of these routes is going to sort of like just sporadically bounce down. But I mean, both of them have to, because we have to end up down here. So let's go Andan. So if you'd pronounce that Joe, then I wonder if you'd pronounce this Zhengzhou. Skip across. So at the same time, on this side, we'll go across here. Because we just want to basically keep track of where this guy is up to. Excuse me. As well. While we're going. Because do we need this guy to collect these cities? I think we might. I think if we go here, then there. Slowly. No, I changed my mind there. Let's get rid of that one. And we'll get this guy to bounce to the right. And then down to Shizo. We'll get rid of that tiny little network there. And we'll connect across here. So if you want to go from Shangchi, UISC sound? Shangchi to Suzhou, you probably be better off walking than taking this plane network. The interesting thing about the way that this is freaking out with every sort of like additional ad here is that the majority of the network can't connect to any of this anyway. Like, it's doing the math on a thing where it just basically has to go, can I connect to this city now? The answer is no. Alright, as you were. It's gonna be tricky to work out how we get to Wuhan here, because I feel like we've got to swing through this way and then come back, but it means that we're going to get stuck here. Unless what we do is go down this way, and one of these two cities is going to be closer to Wuhan. just that one. Although again, the southerns of the city can sometimes, like the fact that that's a straight line versus that being angled could actually be what's impacting that. But I'll believe it. All right, so we get those guys connected, and then we can get Nanchang, Changsha, and you can see the rest of these cities do make a really nice clear stroke through around the coast. Problem is though, where this is going to end up here. Like, what's our connection point from there? All right, so let's build the other side of this now. Let's work our way down that edge. Slowly, slowly. Onto Joe. Alright, and while we're doing this, we can have a look at our new edition of Cambodia. So Cambodia. Also, Kampuchea. I didn't know Cambodia had a second name. Officially the Kingdom of Cambodia, country located in the southern portion of the Indo-Chinese Peninsula in Southeast Asia. Spanning an area of 181,000 square kilometers. Capital city is Phnom Penh. Love the little flag that it's got with, it's like a building on the front. Let's get our fun stats. Population 16 million as of 2022. Alright, so I think from... Actually, what we might do is, because there's some decently long routes around here anyway, let's just go connect down, and then we'll jump back up to Taipei, and then down. So we can just go in a straight line, because if I was using these two and came in, I would have had to have gone from Taipei all the way down and come back up, which I don't think would have been. I think that would have been a longer route, or basically the same amount as what this one would be. So may as well. I think you can definitely see that my plan here is going to be that Russia is the last country that comes in, just purely because I don't think the game will otherwise be able to handle it. It will be some severe slow going as we drag cities all over Russia. Okay, so now that we're down here, we can probably assume that we're going to get more cities in this area. But we've only got the one city in Cambodia at this stage. Which actually says to me that we must be gaining cities in, like, well, I guess we can see there's a green city there in Vietnam. We must still be picking up Vietnamese cities at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I reckon we cut that route there and that route there. Run this guy to there. And unlike all those ones I've just done, we upgrade this guy. And then what we do is we connect those two. As fast as they humanly can. We get rid of that one. We get rid of that one. We run that down here. then what we can do is connect these two. Because I would like to sort of just go back and let this have more cities just sort of come up. But I think that I need to get China connected to the rest of the world to have that sort of population moving around. Because I assume there's a lot of planes wanting to go to Beijing, Shanghai, and all as well. So that's a nice place city for the end of this line. We'll get this guy to come into here, Chiang Mai. Really is not coping with change at this point. I mean, the game over the time that I've been building this has been has definitely evolved. There was a point while I was still in South America, I think, where I had to stop playing because the game was unplayable. So certainly come a long way in the fact that I'm now on the other side of Europe, Africa, and Western Asia, and still chugging away. And now it's getting slow again. Obviously, I do still think that there should be a way to get it to work right. You look at a game like in Vampire Survivors or something, which is another game which has a lot of things moving and not a lot of and not graphically demanding, and that doesn't struggle in the way that you'd say this is just freaking out. But there's definitely a step that's happening in there, whether it's saving or processing, that just needs to sort of be a little bit more mainstream, like streamlined, not mainstream, streamlined. Alright, so now you can travel through the entirety of China through the rest of the world. So potentially we're finally going to actually see maybe some red planes heading east, because we've had that long with all of those Chinese passengers arriving that we can finally go and like, alright, doors open, welcome to come. So as we get to, so that one's not upgraded. Upgrade him, and we'll slowly have to work our way up. While we're doing that, we'll bring in Japan. Let's make our final few connections down the bottom here. So I'd imagine that we're going to see Cambodia and Vietnam have some more cities come in. Frozen. Oh, we're back. Although Japan has just come in, so I would expect that a lot of Japanese cities are going to now become the biggest ones that want to enter. The question here is, how do we get to the Philippines? Where are the Filipino cities going to be? Either way, it seems like we're going to have to bounce out to them, unless they do come down into these islands, in which case the Philippines actually shouldn't be the next one that I'm looking at bringing in Malaysia, because possibly through Malaysia we can attach to the Philippines and come back down into Indonesia. So we don't have to worry too much about I guess the Philippines at this point. We're worried about heading south. Slowly, slowly. A lot of dragging for one route. Alright, so we've got that guy connected. So now we've just got to make sure we fix our cities. It looks like that guy must have no upgrades done yet. This is dragging. Alright. Get to here. Go. So, Japan, or in Japanese it's Nippon. One thing I always wondered about with this, and say countries, I might have said this before with Germany, I mean that would have been years ago at this point, right? If a country calls itself Deutschland or Japan calls itself Nippon, shouldn't that be what everyone else calls them? Like, if Germany is our, like, I would have thought that it's a name, so it would be whatever that country's name is what everyone else calls them. That's one I don't get. Why definitely, like, say there's places like there's countries where the difference seems to just sort of be the pronunciation of the word, but with ones like Nippon and Deutschland, it seems like they're so far removed that surely it should be the country gets to have its name as whatever it wants its name to be. Alright, but anyway, not officially anything else, so it is just Japan. It's an island country, that may not surprise you. Situated in the northwest Pacific Ocean, bordered to the west by the Sea of Japan, while extending from the Sea of Okhotsk in the north towards East China Sea, Philippines, and Taiwan in the south. So that's, I guess that's the Sea of Okhotsk up there. It spans an archipelago of 6,825 islands, covering 377,000 square kilometers. Now tell me about these 6,822 islands. Okay, so of the 6,822 islands, only 260 of them are inhabited. Japan is the largest island country in East Asia, fourth largest in the world. Four main islands of Japan. Do we actually see, how many islands do we see up here? We're just seeing them as sort of as one collective. So, I know we've got three. So this guy up here is Hokkaido. This one here is Honshu. This one here is Shikoku. And then this end bit here is, that's a separate island. Gap there. This is Kyushu. And then I could go for the rest of the thing, just listing the other 6,000 islands. But we probably don't need to go in that deep. I wonder how small the smallest of those islands are. I wonder if we can get that sort of detail. So the Ryukyu Islands seem to run all the way down to Taiwan. So they sort of span all of the distance down to about here, where the last of the Japanese islands end up. Which, I mean, you can understand why in World War II there was a lot of island hopping. Because there were so many different islands to sort of get in the Pacific. Which seems like a very interesting sort of battlefield when everything is situated in such tiny little sections on the map. Where Iwo Jima is in relation to that, but I mean, obviously it must be somewhere really south. It's a strategic launching point that it was. Although I'm not even sure they used it for anything, did they? Taiwan and Penghu are part of the Japanese colonial empire until its defeat in 1945. It returned to the Republic of China in 1945. Actually reading about that at the moment. And while we're moving through China as well, we can have the related. So in the late 19th century, China was ruled by a Empress Dowager who what did they do? So she got married young. But she wasn't the empress. She got it was just that she got pregnant. So at the point when the emperor died in his 20s, the only son that he had was her son. So she managed. So the Empress actually became the Empress Dowager, but she managed to incite some old law saying that if there was a previous time where there were two Empress Dowagers, so this is technically allowed. So they went, all right, cool. So two Empress Dowagers were basically the led the country, and they were leading the country until the son became of age. So at the point where he was 15, 16, but he died at 19 or so. So then what she did, what the two empresses did, is they adopted a boy to become the next emperor, who was her the Empress Dowager Cersei's nephew. And so he then became, and he was only 3 or so at the time as well, which meant that they got to reign for another 12, 15 years. And then at the point when she retired, because that boy became of age and became emperor, he retired. And at that point, Japan attacked South Korea at the time, attacked Korea. And so China stepped in because Korea used to be like sort of under the guardianage of it used to be partly, what do you call it? It's it and Vietnam were both sort of, they weren't part of China, but they were sort of like ceremoniously sort of part of China. So when France attacked Vietnam, China was like, all right, well, you can have it. We're just going to block our borders, but we don't want to start a fight with the West. But South Korea, Japan sort of got the advantage. The problem was that this was after the Empress Dowager had retired, and so she, who was a modernizer, had given up to her son, who was not progressive, and so had sort of stuck in their old ways. They hadn't improved their navies or their armies that much, nowhere compared to what Japan had done. And so in that period, in his sort of like early times, that's where they lost. I upgraded all of that. Beautiful. That's where China lost Taiwan, because they weren't doing enough to improve their army for Japan that was ready to really pick on them. I can imagine the Empress Dowager wasn't too happy about that. Yeah, you can see we're getting a whole bunch of Japanese cities rolling in there nicely. Now let's have a look. Do we want to bring in someone else? Do we bring in Cambodia? Nah, I'd say we're right for this one. We only need the 2. Let's finish off. But then, if you're curious how the story ends, obviously in 1945, in the Asian theater of World War II, Japan was mean to China. They really came in and bullied them, and it's something that I really don't feel like I've ever been that exposed to. Like, we hear a lot more about the Western theater of World War II, but what the Japanese did to the Chinese was pretty terrible. That I could imagine that if pretty sure South Koreans don't overly like Japanese a bit from World War II, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Chinese sort of still carry over things as well. Particularly places like Manchuria, I think, was long occupied by Japan. So when Japan lost World War II, then that's where Taiwan went back to China. Although, whether it really is or not, that's a story for another day. Alright, we are getting there though in our upgrades as we move around here. In Taiwan, they speak, was it Cantonese? Which they also speak in Hong Kong. And the rest of China speaks, well, the majority speak Mandarin. They also read 2 different languages. There you go, there's one of our Japanese islands coming into play. Guess we'll see how many other ones we get, but otherwise he might be connecting to Taipei. Same goes for the language. So China, mainland China would reads simplified Chinese, whereas Hong Kong and Taiwan will do traditional Chinese, which is more complicated looking characters and I think more complex. So generally it means that if you can read traditional, I think you can sort of make sense of simplified a little easier than vice versa there. It is really tempting to bring Russia in, but I know it's just going to be a nightmare. Alright, if I have missed any cities along the way here, feel free to mention it. We are getting very close to the end here. As we clear up last cities of Cambodia and Vietnam down the bottom. We have a look. Oh, definitely not the outcome I intended. So we've got Brunei, Malaysia, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, East Timor, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Fiji, New Caledonia, New Zealand, Australia, and then the French Southern and Antarctic Islands, lands. So that we're not going to pick up. When we pick up that, that'll finish the game. So I think that it's unlikely that that we'll see that. Well, what I'll do is I'll save before I pick that up, because that'll basically be the end of the string challenge. And we can get a stat for how many passengers have been delivered, which just does feel like it'll be interesting to see how many have moved at this point. I'm surprised that not more islands have been able to sort of sneak on. I mean, if you look at it like that island isn't even a marking on the map. It's just where they've put it. You could sort of probably shove a few more somewhere out here. There's plenty more islands out there. Micronesia up here somewhere. New Caledonia isn't a country either. There's only a few places on this map that I think aren't actually countries. Places that are big enough to be sort of like their own separate place. I think it's French owned. French island. Alright, but so that leaves us with, I guess, these 4 guys to connect in Japan, and still not a great look there. Like, I do hope that we get more cities, because we probably want to connect all of Japan between Huang and Busan. But if we just can get like a second city here that will allow us to sort of like arch into it, because they're in very much of a line. Yeah, perfect, like that. But then it means that we go down and across, but then we have to sort of fit everyone else in without having the string cross itself. So, yeah, some problem solving to do with that one. Probably we'll just wait till we get more cities in Japan. Work that out. We can commit to this guy, though. I would say that we're not going to see any more island guys down there. Would be interesting if we did, though. A real would cause some interesting layout issues that we'd basically have. If they were just running in a string, it would mean that we would have to have a line run from Japan down to here, But then how do we connect all those other cities that we've just spent the time like running down the coast? It certainly causes some interesting grief. As we upgrade those guys, what we will do is I will call it there. We'll do a nice little pan out so we can see our newest countries of Japan and Cambodia. And I guess all of China finally connected. Any questions or comments, feel free to chuck them below. And until next time, catch you later.